Hi! Welcome! Welcome back! Thanks for checking in. I'm here. Present and alive. For those of you who are subscribed to my channel, thanks for being patient. I have taken a couple weeks off. February was a rough month for me. I will get into that in another video. That's not what we're doing today. Today we're gonna have a little fun because, as I said, this month has been a time, and so I wanted to just do a little something silly. Yeah. So you can probably see by the title of this video that I've taken some inspiration from some other social media, some trends, to talk about where my lore began. And I thought, why not make a video about it? Why not just like dive deep? Pick and prod at some things that I really think shaped this strange human being that I have become, and just see where it falls in my preferred reading taste now and the things that I consume. So I was like, yeah, that sounds like the perfect video. So let's do that. Oh, and by the way, if you're new here, hello, my name's Victoria, and welcome to my channel. So the problem with doing a video like this is I'm not really sure where to start. Do we just start from the beginning? Go back. If I have to really think about pop culture, books, movies, television shows that made an impact on me, I do think I kind of have to go into the archives, because they may seem like they don't have any correlation to things that I'm interested in now, but we don't know. We don't know that. So I think where I'll start is the Rugrats. I was obsessed. I was a Nick kid just in general. I'll say that, like, total 90s baby here. I grew up in the 90s, solid millennial. The thing I think that makes me feel like Rugrats is kind of like a good building block for some of the other things I became interested in as I get older is because Rugrats kind of towed the line of being fantastical, but in a kid-centric way, and like really focusing on building your imagination, building these worlds and adventures from day-to-day things, and seeing like how it completely consumes the kids in Rugrats during that period, whatever they're doing. Rugrats really was that place where I discovered how to play with my imagination, possibly. I was an only child for a very long time, and I spent a lot of time playing with my toys by myself, so I think I just like really related to that, and I feel like it influenced what I was interested in because I was always looking for something to entertain myself. So I think it, even though it's not like high fantasy, it kind of scratches that itch that fantasy has, and I feel like it kind of drives me towards more of the fantastical things in books and TV and things like that. So I felt like I still had to bring up Rugrats. And then there was Pokemon, which has had a resurgence, but I do think Pokemon was definitely my first foray into anime. And I'm not as big into anime as I was as a middle schooler when I was really into it. But, you know, anime is also like a really good introduction into storytelling and fantasy and kind of bridging those gaps. And I think it stretches your mind and brings you to different places. And so Pokemon was kind of baked in there. You know, it was the phase, saw the movies, watched the show every day, wanted a Pikachu, had the Pikachu with like the light up cheeks, all of those things. So, I mean, those were really like, besides the Spice Girls, who were my band, were my 90s band, are my 90s band. Those were really like the three things that consumed my young brain. But when it comes to reading specifically, I think like a lot of people, Harry Potter was my gateway into reading. I actually really didn't like reading for fun. Growing up, I was definitely more of a TV kid. I also really liked animals. So like the only books that I would check out from the library in school were like the animal books, and I would just learn facts about different animals. And then I would go home and watch like, before Zaboobafoo, there was like a different show, and I would go and watch that show when I went home. So like I really wasn't into reading, good at reading. I never struggled with reading in school, but it just wasn't something that I was interested in doing in my spare time, or even really doing to get points and things like that. I would read the bare necessities, if you will, in elementary school. But in 5th grade, I finally picked up Harry Potter. And I think in the same way that I was talking about like Rugrats and them kind of being entrenched in their fantasies, it was the first time that I had really read a book where I was absorbed into the writing. And, you know, I think it's unfortunate that now that series author has gone off the deep end and really I don't even have the right words for it, because I do know that there are so many people, especially I think in my age range, who really found their love of reading through Harry Potter and found a sense of belonging through the community and the world that was built. And it's unfortunate to see the author of those books spreading hate and vitriol and different things like that when those books brought so much joy to so many people. So it is, you know, this is why I can't have nice things, kids. But yeah, it really was Harry Potter. I read the first 4 books in 5th grade, and I went to all of the midnight releases. I went to many of the midnight premieres for the movies throughout middle school and high school as well. I actually waited like so long to read the 7th Harry Potter book because I didn't want it to be over. So I literally got it in the midnight release and then didn't read it for like a year. Yeah, a year. But I kind of took a left turn, honestly, after Harry Potter. Like, I kind of took a left turn. I was trying to think back to other young adult, not young adult, because really young adult wasn't like a big thing back when I was in middle school and going into high school. So like I was trying to think back to the books that I read kind of in between Harry Potter and Twilight. So I was like, what was I reading? Which, I mean, I guess that just means that they weren't that important, but they were. I first read Dracula in middle school, which I still have a fun, I've had this book for so long. My friend Michelle gave it to me because Dracula is one of my favorite books, and it's an illustrated version of Dracula and has like blood splatters on it and stuff like that. I've literally had this for so long. But I did read Dracula, Frankenstein in middle school. I was really like set on reading classics. Just really set on it. I thought it was gonna make me smarter, I guess, or something. But those are the things I think about like when I was in middle school. Other than that, I did read manga. I did watch anime. Probably Inuyasha was my favorite in had a big impact on what I was interested in. It was definitely, yeah, Inuyasha was definitely my favorite anime. It also was one of the longer running ones, so like some of the other animes that were on there, even like a Cowboy Bebop, were shorter. So once they finished, they kind of finished and they'd just be reruns. But Inuyasha had a lot of episodes. And I was also getting like DVDs from like Japan with subtitles to watch the movies and stuff that were coming out that weren't coming out here. And that really brings us to Twilight, which I feel like was in most people's lore. And I mean, it makes sense. Like I said, for the YA genre, like Twilight made such a huge difference. It really like blew it up, honestly. I feel like before Twilight, there were those books, but it's not like it is right now. It's not like it was even like when I went into college. Like young adult just didn't have like a ton. And I felt like when I picked up Twilight, I actually picked it up randomly. That's what I remember. I picked it up in a Target because it just had the apple on it. And I was like, what is this? Hadn't heard about it. It really hadn't like kicked off yet in popularity, I guess. And I picked it up. And like many of us, was absolutely enraptured with it. It was the first book of its kind that I had ever read. And I passed it along to all of my friends. Told them all to read it. I accept blame for this. But yeah, I ate it up. And then I wanted more vampires, specifically. I was desperate for more books like that. And at the time, there weren't, at least, like I said, not in YA. There weren't a lot of YA books like that. So I instead moved over to paranormal romance and paranormal mysteries, because that was really, beyond like a Dracula or like an Anne Rice, that was like really the only place you were getting a lot of that. So I ended up picking up Laurel K. Hamilton through a recommendation from a Borders associate. So she gave me the first book, which was Guilty Pleasures. Yeah, a big jump from Twilight, mind you. Although Guilty Pleasures isn't nearly as smutty as the series gets. It's pretty tame in comparison, but definitely those types of books became very formative for me in my reading taste. Like Laurel K. Hamilton, Patricia Briggs, Jim Butcher, those all kind of, that sparked from Twilight, because I read Guilty Pleasures and then continued reading the series. And then one of my used bookstores, they started a paranormal romance, paranormal sci-fi, fantasy book club specifically. So in that book club, we did start off with J.R. Ward. Were not for me, but we also started picking books, and we had like definitely a variety of readers there. So it really exposed me to different books. And like I said, Patricia Briggs and Jim Butcher were both authors that I found through that book club. And I think authors that really formulated my writing, my reading taste, what I look for in characters. I really became enamored with like our spunky protagonist, Motley Crue's, kind of the urban fantasy, paranormal genre itself. And I would say that's really where I sat for a long time with reading specifically. Like that was most of my reading, beyond some classics and what I was reading for school. That was pretty much it. I do think also, in addition to this, something that I feel like pulls into my channel a little bit more is in 2005, is when the Pride and Prejudice movie came out with Keira Knightley, and definitely formative for me. I think many other people. I really found a love for Regency Victorian period of England, did a lot of research, was obsessed with the Tudors, spent a lot of time learning about the Tudors, and just really getting deep into that kind of realm of things. And I think it's why I like things like Veronica Speedwell. I just really enjoy those type of historical fictions, historical fantasies. Those things just really appeal to me, and I definitely think that all starts back with Pride and Prejudice and Renaissance festivals. Because around that, like in my early high school careers, when I discovered what a Renaissance festival was and was so excited. So excited. Yeah, anything that was historical, I really dug, which I think is interesting because like you put up like the urban fantasy and the historical, and do you get high fantasy? Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I think that really, like when I boil it down, I think those are the things that really kind of melded together to create whatever it is that I find appealing in a bunch of different things. Thanks so much for going on this journey with me. If you've posted like where your lore began, photos on Instagram or anything like that, drop below. If this video was as chaotic as I think it was, you can put a little tornado. And I'm happy to be back. Thank you so much for watching. If you feel like sticking around, feel free to subscribe. I upload every Friday. We should be getting back to it. And until next time, I hope you read a good book. I hope you find some joy. And most importantly, I hope you do something to make the world a better place. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.